Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a relationship that doesn't explode in some fiery crash, but simply, well, it withers. A slow, silent fade to black where one day you sort of realize the vibrancy is gone, and you're left wondering, when did the light actually die? It's a quiet yet profoundly devastating reality for, honestly, countless relationships. And today's deep dive is a crucial warning about a core reason why this happens. Our exploration today, it confronts a truth that, frankly, many men are unknowingly contributing to this quiet collapse. And what's truly at stake is the very heart of their most important connections.
Mhm.
What we've pulled from the material, and this might surprise many of you, is that this decay often stems from a dangerous emotional starvation. It's caused by men who, often unwittingly, neglect their own inner emotional landscape. And, well, in turn, they fail to give their partners the quality attention they so desperately need.
Yeah, that's a key point.
So our mission today is to dive deep into this often overlooked root cause. We need to understand its profound and painful impact. And most importantly, illuminate the path to preventing such silent relationship failures. This isn't just theory we're discussing, it's a direct, urgent call to internal attention.
And what's truly insightful here, I think, is that the material isn't just pointing fingers. It's not about assigning blame to one gender. Instead, it's uncovering a fundamental, almost systemic disconnect, right at the heart of how many relationships seem to function today.
A disconnect. Yeah.
The insights suggest, with some sobering clarity, that if men do not learn to cultivate emotional presence and genuine vulnerability within themselves, well, the relationships are indeed kind of destined to quietly unravel. And this isn't just about, behavioral adjustments or trying harder in isolated moments.
Right, not just quick fixes.
Exactly. It's about a deep internal shift that profoundly impacts every single interaction and ultimately the very foundation of intimacy itself.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a little challenging for some to hear. Our exploration introduces us to Carl Jung's profound concept of the anima, this unconscious feminine aspect within a man. Now, to truly grasp this, we first need to understand that Jung, the renowned psychologist, he mapped these hidden, often neglected dimensions of the human psyche.
The inner world.
Yes. And he posited the anima as the wellspring of a man's capacity for empathy, for emotional sensitivity, creativity, and what our research terms soul-deep connection. When you think about what makes a relationship truly thrive, well, that sounds absolutely vital, doesn't it?
It really does. Foundational even.
But here's the immediate conflict, and this is the core of the warning we're seeing in the material. Modern masculinity, as it points out, actively teaches men to fear and suppress these very traits.
It's almost ingrained from a young age.
Exactly. From a young age, they're often told that real men are logical, tough, and crucially emotionally detached. Any sign of tenderness, well, that's often labeled as weakness. Vulnerability, absolutely shameful, something to be hidden.
Yeah.
The unspoken message is clear, it's pervasive, and ultimately, it's damaging. It creates this profound internal struggle for men trying to navigate relationships.
And we connect this to the bigger picture, this cultural suppression of the anima.
Yeah.
It creates internal walls within men, instead of building bridges to authentic connection.
Walls, not bridges. That's a powerful image.
It is. Men can become emotionally numb, sometimes even to their own feelings, rather than being truly emotionally available to others, to their partners. The profound consequence, as our material explicitly warns, is that they then dismiss their partner's emotional needs. Why? Because they haven't learned to understand, let alone acknowledge, their own.
It sounds like a vicious cycle.
It absolutely is. The more a man rejects his inner feminine, his anima, the less capable he becomes of giving what the research powerfully labels quality attention.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't presented as some casual oversight, It's described as a slow, dangerous form of emotional starvation within the relationship itself, quietly eroding the very fabric of connection.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean for daily interactions then? For the mundane, maybe, but utterly crucial nitty-gritty of a relationship?
Wow.
The material is stark. It says, in a world full of constant distractions, digital noise, real undivided attention has become a rare and precious form of love. It's not about grand romantic gestures, those big flashy moments we see in movies. It's fundamentally about presence, just being there emotionally.
Presence.
Think for a moment. What do you listening imagine quality attention truly looks like in your own life? Is it just being in the same room? Probably not, right? What we pull from the material, and what might surprise many, is that it's far more subtle and consistent. It means listening deeply, truly absorbing what's being said, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Active listening, yeah.
Exactly. It means asking meaningful follow-up questions that show you're genuinely engaged, that you're invested. It means remembering what she shared last week about her challenging day, maybe, or a small concern she mentioned just in passing.
Those small details matter a lot.
You really do. It means noticing when something is subtly off with her, even if she hasn't said a word, and then having the courage to gently inquire, hey, what's going on?
That attunement.
Yes. And the warning here isn't about achieving perfection in every single interaction. Nobody's perfect, but it's about the lack of this consistency. When this kind of emotional presence is missing, the material suggests the relationship begins to rot from the inside. The message is incredibly clear, no matter how successful he is, how good-looking, how materially generous. If she doesn't feel emotionally prioritized, if she feels unseen and unheard, the research unequivocally states she will start to fade away. This isn't hyperbole. It's presented as a chilling prognosis based on observation.
And this raises a really important question. Why is this presence so paramount? Why is it so absolutely critical for a relationship's survival? The material highlights that it builds a fundamental sense of emotional safety.
Emotional safety, yes.
Yes, and that safety is what deepens intimacy.
Yeah.
Without it, you are not just lacking something beneficial. You are actively creating a profound emotional absence in the relationship. It's the crucial difference, as the material puts it, between being a provider without presence, someone who takes care of material needs but is emotionally disengaged.
Checking boxes, maybe.
Sort of. Versus being a truly connected, intimate partner. The insights aren't suggesting this is merely a preference or a nice-to-have. It's described as an absolute necessity for the relationship's very survival. Without that consistent quality attention, the emotional bond simply cannot endure. It just can't.
Let's unpack this further, because our deep dive into the material, it paints a truly tragic picture, especially of how modern masculinity impacts men's emotional development. It suggests that our current societal norms often breed emotionally stunted men, right from a young age.
This is a lot of pressure.
Huge pressure. Boys are frequently raised to avoid feelings, to mock vulnerability in themselves and others, and to reward emotional coldness, detachment as signs of strength.
The strong, silent type myth.
Exactly that myth. And the devastating result, according to the research, you get men who are perfectly capable of fixing cars, building successful businesses, conquering external challenges, but who struggle profoundly with even a 5-minute conversation about their partner's emotional pain or inner world. It's a staggering imbalance of capabilities, isn't it?
It really is.
When men ignore and suppress their feminine side, their anima, they inadvertently lose access to the very qualities that make a relationship thrive. Empathy, attentiveness, warmth, that crucial emotional intuition. The material powerfully summarizes this by stating they become providers without presence, protectors without intimacy, and lovers without depth.
And what's fascinating here is how this emotional malnourishment, this lack, manifests in everyday life. It leads to that common, absolutely heartbreaking disconnect we see in so many struggling relationships. It leads to those all too familiar arguments where the woman says, "You never listen to me."
We've all heard that or felt that.
Right. And the man, genuinely bewildered, often replies, "But I do everything for you. I work hard. I pay the bills."
Right.
The material makes it devastatingly clear. The disconnect is not about tasks or chores or even material provision. It's about a profound emotional absence. It's like they're speaking entirely different languages of love and care.
Yeah, completely missing each other.
Completely. And the material reinforces a critical warning here. Women are not overreacting when they express these emotional needs. They are, in a very real sense, starving for emotional connection. Her complaints are not nagging. That's not what's happening. She's actually reaching out, desperately trying to keep the connection alive before she emotionally shuts down completely.
It's a bid for connection, really.
It absolutely is. And if her emotional needs continue to be ignored, unmet, she will inevitably begin to feel rejected, deeply rejected, even if her partner is physically present in the room or even in the same bed. And this is a crucial distinction. Physical presence without emotional engagement creates a deeper, maybe more insidious form of abandonment.
Wow. Okay, here's where it gets truly sobering then. Because if that emotional starvation continues, the material describes a chilling, almost inevitable progression. Picture this. She might stop sharing her thoughts, her feelings, her day. That spontaneous recounting of her experiences just, well, it ceases.
Their sharing stops.
Yeah, she might stop initiating intimacy or even simple conversations, pulling back. And eventually, and this is the most painful part, she might stop caring altogether. The research warns that when she finally makes the decision to leave, The man is often completely shocked, blindsided. He'll say, "But I provided everything. I did everything right."
Because he's measuring by a different metric.
Exactly, by the metric he was taught. But the devastating truth the material reveals is that she was emotionally abandoned long before she physically walked away. It's a profound, silent tragedy playing out. And it's crucial to understand neglect doesn't always look like overt abuse or betrayal. We're not always talking about big, dramatic events.
No, often it's much quieter.
Yes, often, and perhaps more insidiously, it looks like simple disinterest, constant distraction, or a kind of cold indifference. The material gives a clear, painful example. A man scrolling his phone while his partner talks to him. That sends a silent but incredibly loud message. You are not important right now.
My phone is more important than you.
Basically, yes. And this seemingly small act, repeated over time, day after day, it chips away relentlessly at a woman's self-worth, her sense of value in the relationship, until maybe there's nothing left.
And this raises that important question. What is the ultimate, most profound cost of this repeated emotional neglect? The material warns that she begins to question herself, to internalize the neglect.
Blaming herself.
Often, yes. She might wonder if she's too emotional or too needy, or maybe she's just too much for her partner. And in this emotional void, this emptiness, she might begin seeking emotional connection elsewhere. Now, this isn't necessarily about infidelity, though sometimes it can lead there. But often it's through the deep bonds of female friendships or immersive hobbies, demanding work, even online validation.
Filling the gap.
Trying to fill that gap, exactly.
Yeah.
This is precisely how emotional starvation ultimately leads to what the material calls the death of romantic desire. The painful truth underscored here is that she no longer feels admired, desired, or cherished by her partner. Instead, she feels like a burden, an obligation.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. And once that fundamental emotional bond is broken, physical intimacy often fades with it, sometimes entirely. It's not, the research clarifies, because she doesn't love him anymore. That's a common misconception. It's because she no longer feels loved by him in the fundamental emotional way she needs to be. This is the quiet death of a relationship, often without either partner fully understanding why until it's far too late.
Okay. So, faced with this stark, almost grim warning, what's the path forward? I mean, is there a solution to this silent decay?
Thankfully, yes.
Our deep dive offers a clear, powerful solution. And it comes back to what we discussed earlier. The only way out of this emotional decay, the material suggests, is for men to reclaim the forgotten parts of themselves. Jung's Anima, as we discussed, isn't just some mystical concept floating out there. It's presented as a very practical, actionable roadmap back to emotional wholeness.
A roadmap back. I like that.
Yeah, and here's the crucial, almost counterintuitive strength described in the material. When a man makes peace with his inner feminine, when he integrates these previously suppressed traits, he doesn't become less masculine. That's the fear, isn't it? He actually becomes stronger, more complete, and far more capable of true connection. It's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming more of who you are meant to be. Whole.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, to actual behavior, this integration of the anima means learning practical skills, like learning to listen with your heart, not just your ears, really hearing the underlying emotions, the unspoken messages.
Beyond the surface words.
Exactly. It means learning to validate your partner's feelings instead of immediately getting defensive or correcting her perceptions. Imagine this. Instead of interrupting to offer a solution or explain why she shouldn't feel that way, you simply say, "Wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating," and let her continue. You just hold that space.
Holding space. That's key.
It's absolutely key. It means learning to hold space for her emotions without trying to fix them or interrupt, and learning to connect deeply instead of trying to control the situation or the conversation. This fundamental shift, it ultimately leads to true emotional intelligence.
Which is real strength.
That is real strength. The transformation described is profound. A man who embraces his feminine side becomes far more aware of his partner's emotional world. He's more tuned. He stops seeing her needs, her complaints, or her expressions of vulnerability as attacks or criticisms of his inadequacy. Instead, he starts seeing them for what they truly are. Invitations for deeper intimacy. Invitations to connect on a soul-deep level.
Invitations, not attacks. That reframing is huge.
It changes everything. This is the crucial turning point, the pathway out of the silent decay and towards a relationship brimming with genuine connection and vitality. It's about recognizing that her need for emotional presence isn't a burden. It's the very key to unlocking a richer, more fulfilling partnership for both of you.
So, the final message here, the core warning. If you are a man listening and you value your relationship, and we know you do hear this truth from our deep dive with the urgency it deserves, do not dismiss this warning. Please don't. No amount of money, power, or external demonstrations of masculinity will save your relationship if your partner feels emotionally alone. That is the core, unyielding message from this material.
That's unavoidable.
If you cannot be present with her emotionally, if you cannot meet her where she is in her feelings, she will eventually disconnect. It's almost a natural consequence. And the research warns, with a truly sobering finality, that by the time you realize what happened, by the time you understand the depth of the emotional abandonment, it might be too late.
A point of no return, sometimes.
It can be, but the path forward isn't about becoming someone you're not. You just have to become whole. Stop fearing the soft, empathetic, intuitive parts of yourself. Those are strengths. Stop confusing stoicism with strength or emotional numbness with true masculinity. True masculinity, our material powerfully argues, is not emotional numbness. It is the courage to love deeply, completely, and vulnerably.
And this raises, I think, a final important question for all of us to reflect on as we conclude this deep dive. Relationships don't fail because of love lost. That's often not the root cause. They fail because of love unexpressed. They fail because of attention unfocused. And, as the insights from our exploration so powerfully articulate, they often fail because the feminine side of men left ignored and unlived.
Ignored and unlived, wow.
The ultimate profound warning here is clear and direct. You cannot love a woman well if you cannot meet her emotionally. And to truly meet her, to truly understand and connect with her emotional world, you must first embark on the courageously honest journey to meet yourself, all of yourself.